May 7th, 1945. 3rd Army Headquarters, Southern Germany. The war is already dead. No one has bothered to tell the front lines yet. Maps still cover the walls. Radios still crackle with static. Officers still move with the muscle memory of combat. But everyone knows the truth. Adolf Hitler is dead. Berlin has fallen. Germany is collapsing from the inside out. The only thing left is paperwork and prisoners. Then the door flies open. A young captain from the 11th Armored Division stumbles into the operations room, helmet under his arm, breath ragged, eyes wide in a way that makes veterans straighten instinctively. "Sir, we've got a situation." General Hobart Gay, George Patton's chief of staff, doesn't look up right away. He's been awake for nearly 40 hours, overseeing the administrative death of the Third Reich. Surrenders, processing, logistics, the unglamorous end of war. "What kind of situation?" Gay asks, still studying the map. "A German battalion just walked up to our lines." Gay finally looks up. "How many?" "About 800 men, full equipment, organized. So take their surrender." "That's the problem, sir." Gay narrows his eyes. "Explain." "They're refusing to surrender to us." Silence settles over the room. They say they'll only surrender to General Patton, by name. They won't lay down their weapons for anyone else. Gay sets his pencil down slowly. "Say that again." "They want to surrender only to Patton." Before Gay can respond, the captain adds something worse. "And sir, they're not the first." That gets everyone's attention. "We had a company earlier today, then a regiment this afternoon. All the same demand. They walked past other American units, even past British positions. They kept asking one thing: where is Patton?" A surrender makes sense. This doesn't. Enemy soldiers don't negotiate who they surrender to. They surrender to whoever is pointing a rifle at them. Gay reaches for the phone. "Get me General Patton." When Patton answers, Gay doesn't waste words. "Sir, German units are surrendering, but only to you. They're refusing to surrender to anyone else. They're demanding to meet you personally." There's a pause on the line, long enough to be uncomfortable. Then Patton's voice comes through, amused and sharp. "Well, I'll be damned. Even the Germans have standards." What follows over the next 48 hours defies every rule of warfare. German soldiers, defeated, exhausted, and fully aware the war is lost, begin choosing who they surrender to. They walk for days, bypassing closer Allied forces, ignoring orders from their own collapsing command structure, all to reach one army: Patton's. Not because they're forced to, because they want to. To understand why, you have to understand the reputation that reaches them long before the Americans do. By 1945, George S. Patton is no longer just a general. He's a force of nature. German intelligence has been tracking him since North Africa, filling thick files with reports that read less like analysis and more like warnings. Aggressive, unpredictable, relentless. One captured German intelligence summary describes him as the most dangerous American commander, capable of advances thought impossible. German soldiers give him a nickname, Blutiger Patton, Bloody Patton. Not because he mistreats prisoners, because if Patton attacks you, you die. He moves faster than expected. He strikes where doctrine says he shouldn't. He pushes his men hard, drives armor deep, and refuses to slow down when caution would feel safer. But there's another side to his reputation, one that matters more now than bullets. Patton fights like a soldier, not a politician. He leads from the front. He demands discipline. He values professionalism. He respects officers who hold their units together under pressure, even if they're wearing enemy uniforms. And German officers recognize something familiar in him. "He fights like a Prussian," one captured colonel says, "aggressive, disciplined, honor-bound." In a war that has become increasingly ideological, brutal, and lawless, Patton represents something older, something cleaner, A war between soldiers. That matters when you've lost everything else. The first incident happens 2 days earlier, near the Austrian border. A German company, about 150 men, approaches American lines under a white flag. Weapons slung, not aimed. An American patrol spots them and orders them to halt. "Drop your weapons." The German officer, barely 30, raises his hands, but doesn't release his rifle. "We wish to surrender," he says in careful English. "To General Patton." The American sergeant stares at him. "You're surrendering to the United States Army. Drop your weapon." The German officer shakes his head. "We surrender to Patton. Only Patton. Where is he?" The sergeant thinks it's a joke. He levels his rifle. "Buddy, I don't care who you want. Drop it or we shoot." The German officer doesn't move. "We walked 15 kilometers to reach Third Army lines. We passed British units. We passed other Americans. We came here because this is Patton's army." The lieutenant arrives. Same conversation, same refusal. Eventually, the situation is radioed all the way up the chain. Patton's reaction is immediate and revealing. "They want to surrender to me personally?" He laughs. "Fine. Tell them I accept." When the message reaches the German officer, he considers it carefully. "Then it is agreed," he says. "We surrender to Patton." They lay down their weapons. Word spreads fast. The next day, a German regiment, 2,000 men, arrives intact, organized, and calm. They sit down in a field outside Third Army lines and wait. For Patton. When told he's 30 miles away, the German colonel nods. "Then we will wait 30 miles worth of time." And they do. This isn't desperation, it's choice. By May 7th, that choice becomes a flood. Battalions, regiments, entire formations, all asking the same question. Is this Patton's army? Because when the war ends, the only thing a defeated soldier still owns is dignity. And somewhere in the chaos of Europe's collapse, German soldiers have decided there is only one enemy commander they trust to let them keep it. The surrender that shouldn't exist has begun, and it's only just getting started. By the morning of May 7th, Third Army headquarters no longer feels like a command post. It feels like the center of a strange migration. German soldiers are arriving from every direction, mud-streaked columns moving west, east, south, sometimes walking straight past stunned American checkpoints without stopping. They're not running. They're not hiding. They're marching with purpose. Everywhere the same question is asked. Is this General Patton's army? Lieutenants and captains don't know how to answer anymore. They just point down the road and radio ahead. Patton is irritated, but not surprised. He understands something many of his officers don't yet. These men are not surrendering because they are weak. They are surrendering because they are choosing the least humiliating ending available. To understand that choice, you have to understand what defeat means to a professional soldier in May 1945. Germany hasn't simply lost a war. It has collapsed. The government is gone. Command structures have disintegrated. Orders contradict each other or stop entirely. Units are fighting one day and abandon the next. Officers who spent their lives believing in hierarchy, discipline, and obedience now have nothing left to obey. For many German soldiers, especially career officers, the war has stripped away everything except one final decision: how to surrender. And surrender, to them, is not just an administrative act. It's a moral one. They know their options. They could surrender to the British. Correct. Proper. Cold. They could surrender to other American units. Efficient. Bureaucratic. Impersonal. Or they could be captured by the Soviets. That last option terrifies them. Stories have been spreading through German ranks for months. Some exaggerated, many not. Forced marches, labor camps, years of disappearance into the East. Men who surrender to the Red Army are not prisoners. They are spoils. So German units in the east flee westward in desperation, sometimes abandoning vehicles, heavy weapons, anything that slows them down. They run without sleep, without food, without orders, just west. And when they finally see American uniforms, many break down and cry. But even among American forces, there is a distinction. Patton's Third Army is different. Patton doesn't speak like a politician. He doesn't pretend war is clean. He doesn't sugarcoat killing. He doesn't apologize for victory. German officers understand that language. He fights like one of us, a captured major explains during interrogation. He believes in movement, speed, destruction of the enemy's will. That is how German officers were trained. Patton studies German military history obsessively. He reads their doctrine, quotes their theorists. He even models his operations on principles German officers recognize instantly. When they face him in combat, they fear him. When they face him in defeat, they trust him. That trust is reinforced by something more practical. Patton draws a clear line. Regular soldiers are soldiers, criminals are criminals. And he makes that distinction loudly. His intelligence officers are instructed to screen prisoners aggressively for SS and Gestapo personnel. Anyone tied to war crimes is separated immediately, documented, processed. But Wehrmacht soldiers, men who fought in uniform under orders, are treated differently. "I'm not fighting German soldiers," Patton tells his staff. "I'm fighting the Nazi system. There's a difference." German soldiers know this. SS units avoid Third Army entirely. They try to melt into other surrendering formations, hoping to hide. Patton's people don't let them. And that clarity spreads like wildfire. Surrender to Third Army, and you are treated as a soldier. Surrender elsewhere, and you are just another defeated enemy. That difference matters when your world has collapsed. The battalion incident that morning is the clearest example yet. 800 German soldiers sit outside American lines, weapons still in hand, waiting calmly. Patton decides he's had enough. He drives out personally. When he steps from his jeep, pistols on his hips, helmet gleaming, the German battalion commander snaps to attention and salutes. Patton returns it. The watching Americans freeze. You don't salute enemy officers. Patton does. The German major speaks carefully, choosing each English word like it might decide the fate of his men. "We wish to surrender honorably. You are known as a commander who understands soldiers. We trust you." Patton studies him for a long moment. Then he nods. "You're surrendering because the war is over, not because you were beaten here. That's an honorable decision." He accepts their surrender, promises Geneva Convention treatment, allows officers to keep sidearms until formal processing. The German major's eyes fill. When he turns and gives the order, 800 rifles hit the ground at once. That sound echoes through the valley. It is the sound of a war ending, one unit at a time. Afterward, an American guard overhears a German private whisper something that spreads among the prisoners. "We are lucky. We surrendered to Patton." By afternoon, Third Army headquarters is drowning in prisoners. Tens of thousands. Food supplies strain. Camps overflow. Logistics officers complain. Security officers argue for harsher measures to keep control. Patton refuses. "These men chose to stop fighting," he says. "We don't punish that." Some American officers don't understand. One captain voices it openly. "Sir, they're the enemy. Why are we worried about their dignity?" Patton doesn't hesitate. "Because dignity is what ends wars," he says. "A man who believes he'll be treated like an animal fights to the end. A man who believes he'll be treated like a soldier lays down his weapon." He pauses. "And every man who surrenders is one less American who dies." That logic is impossible to argue with. German soldiers understand something else too, something Patton never says out loud. If they surrender to Third Army, they are as far west as they can possibly be, as far from the Soviets as geography allows. When asked why he walked 3 extra days to surrender to Patton, a German sergeant answers simply, "Better an honorable enemy than a merciless ally." By nightfall on May 7th, surrender to Third Army is no longer unusual. It is sought after. Entire formations arrive asking only one question before they lay down their weapons. Will General Patton accept us? And somewhere in that question lies the strangest truth of the war's final hours. These men are not surrendering to a flag. They are surrendering to a reputation. And that reputation, built through years of brutal combat and rigid professionalism, has turned one American general into the preferred ending for thousands of defeated enemies. The war is hours from being officially over. But for George S. Patton, its most unusual victory is still unfolding. May 8, 1945, Victory in Europe Day. The war ends on paper. In reality, it ends in pieces. Across southern Germany and Austria, German formations are still moving, no longer to fight, but to choose where their war will finally stop. Roads clog with columns of exhausted men. Some carry rifles, some don't. All carry the same fear. Who captures us matters more than who defeated us. By dawn, Third Army processing centers are overwhelmed. Prisoners arrive faster than tents can be erected. Field kitchens run non-stop. Medical officers triage men who haven't slept in days. And still, they come. Patton decides to formalize what is already happening. It isn't required. No regulation demands it. But Patton believes something deeper is at stake. He orders a formal surrender assembly. German officers, representing thousands of prisoners, are gathered under guard. They arrive unarmed, marching in formation, backs straight, uniforms worn, but still worn properly. These are career soldiers to the end. Patton steps forward. He doesn't gloat. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't lecture. Through a translator, he speaks plainly. "Gentlemen, the war is over. Germany has surrendered. You are now prisoners of the United States Army. You will be treated according to the Geneva Convention. You will receive food, medical care, and shelter. You will eventually return home." He pauses. "You fought for your country. That duty is finished. Now the killing ends." Then something happens that stuns the American officers watching. The German officers salute. Patton returns it. Later, when an aide questions him, Patton responds sharply, "I didn't salute enemies. I saluted soldiers." That moment spreads through the camps faster than any rumor. For the German prisoners, it confirms everything they believed. They chose correctly. In the days that follow, the contrast becomes unmistakable. German prisoners held by Third Army are fed regularly. Medical care is prioritized. Discipline is strict but fair. Theft, abuse, and revenge are not tolerated. Patton personally intervenes when supply officers complain. "We're not starving prisoners because it's inconvenient," he snaps. "Figure it out." When security officers suggest harsher conditions to reduce escape risk, Patton refuses. "We won the war. We can afford to be decent." That attitude doesn't come from softness. It comes from confidence. Patton believes victory allows generosity, and the prisoners notice. One German colonel, a veteran of both world wars, is interviewed by American intelligence. He's asked why so many German units specifically sought out Third Army. He answers slowly, choosing words carefully. "When a soldier loses everything, his country, his army, his future, the last thing he owns is how he is defeated. Surrendering to someone who respects you preserves that final possession." The interviewer presses further. "Why Patton?" The colonel doesn't hesitate. He understands soldiers. He does not confuse us with criminals. That distinction matters more than you realize. That distinction also explains who doesn't surrender to Third Army. SS units avoid it. They know Patton's reputation cuts both ways. SS men attempting to hide among regular troops are pulled aside immediately. Tattoos are checked. Records are cross-referenced. Patton's intelligence officers are relentless. Regular soldiers are soldiers. War criminals are not. That clarity is feared and respected. As the days pass, the scale of the phenomenon becomes clear to historians, even if it's chaos in the moment. A disproportionate number of German forces surrendered to Third Army compared to other Allied formations of similar size. Interrogation records reveal the same phrases repeated again and again. He is honorable. He treats soldiers as soldiers. He understands duty. We wanted a warrior, not a bureaucrat. One prisoner says something that lingers in Patton's mind. We feared you in battle, but we trusted you in defeat. That sentence captures something rare in warfare. Fear and trust almost never coexist. For Patton, they do. In June 1945, long after the surrender flood has slowed, a letter reaches Third Army headquarters. It's addressed simply, General George S. Patton. The writer is a German colonel who surrendered in May. The letter is formal, restrained, and deeply personal. He thanks Patton for treating his men with fairness, for recognizing their service even in defeat, for preserving their dignity when nothing else remained. We expected cruelty, the colonel writes. We found professionalism. We expected humiliation. We found respect. He ends with a line that Patton reads 3 times. We will remember who treated us as humans when the world had collapsed. Patton does not reply. He files the letter and keeps it for the rest of his life. Years later, historians studying surrender patterns will struggle to explain what happened in May 1945. Soldiers do not usually choose their captors, yet thousands of German soldiers walked past closer Allied forces, sometimes for days, just to reach one army, one man, George S. Patton. On May 7th, a captain burst into headquarters with a report that made no sense. Sir, the Germans are surrendering to you specifically. At the time, it sounded absurd. Enemy soldiers don't get to choose, but at the end of the most destructive war in human history, choice is exactly what they exercised. Not because Patton was kind, not because he was gentle, but because he was consistent. He fought brutally. He won decisively. And when the fighting ended, he treated defeated soldiers as soldiers. That combination, lethal in battle, fair in victory, created something rare: respect across enemy lines. Even the Germans have standards, Patton joked. But beneath the humor was a truth history would remember. When everything else was gone, thousands of men chose to surrender, not to a flag, not to a nation, but to a warrior they believed would honor their final act. And in doing so, they proved something few wars ever do: that even in total defeat, honor can still survive.